Welcome to Western Perspective. I'm Madeline Lombardi. West Australian artist Melissa Clements has been selected as a finalist for the well-renowned Archibald Prize with her self-portrait titled In the Driveway 40 Degrees. WAMN News spoke with Melissa, who is one of two West Aussies in the finalist selection, about her Archibald piece, unravelling secrets, about her technique and creative process. Not common to see a lot of West Australian artists in the Archibald Prize. How does it feel placing as one of the top 57 finalists?
Yeah, it's so exciting. I think as someone from Western Australia, you know, every year that there's a series of finalists released, it's always exciting to go through and see are there names that I recognise or peers, people that I know. And it's always, if there is, it might be one or two. And the Archibald is so highly represented with artists from over east, so Melbourne, Sydney, Queensland, and so to be a West Australian artist and make it in the prize, it's also surreal, really. Yeah.
Also, not just as a West Australian artist, you're a young artist as well who's quite self-accomplished. Your piece, titled In the Driveway 40 Degrees, is a self-portrait painted during a Perth summer, which we know in Western Australia can get really hot. Can you explain what feelings were evoked in painting this image in particular?
Yeah, so I think it really reflects this moment of being just so hot and exhausted in an environment that you feel quite alien in. So I had just come back from a trip to the UK, actually, which I think the landscape there and the weather there I connect with much more deeply on a ancestral level, I think. So connecting more with colder climates, I think being in Australia, it's always felt very foreign to me. And then that contrast of having just been there and then coming back to a landscape that is so suffocating for people like myself, that's really the emotion that was coming through. I think there's also just that casual, everyday element of that I think a lot of people will relate to, of getting in a hot car and just feeling like the car's going to break, or you know, when you turn you go to put your seatbelt on and it burns your skin because it's so hot. I think that's a very familiar feeling. And I'd been in the studio all day just working on these huge paintings, and it was just, I wanted to capture this small little moment in this tiny little painting that doesn't usually get seen. I think these private moments.
I think that's something that I, you know, when looking at the image as well, was really different from what I've seen your previous pieces look like as well. You're really drawn into the image, and it is a smaller work, which is what I want to highlight as well, compared to some of your other images, which are, or portraiture works, which are on a larger format or on a larger scale in that sense. Was there a specific reason to use a small cotton paper, I believe you used, for this work in particular when submitting it to the Archibald Prize?
Yeah, so I've been working on a series of small paintings on paper since I got back from this trip, and one, it's a really nice way of breaking free of the boundaries and of working on a huge portrait, which most of my works are usually minimum a metre square. So this piece is A6, it's about 10 centimetres by 15, so much smaller, which means I can get these portraits done in a much smaller time than the several months that it takes my large works. So one, it was a way of revisiting my usual practice to be able to produce works that I wouldn't usually get to do because they would just take so long, and come at it from a more free-flowing perspective. I also like the small scale of these portraits, this one in particular, because it really forces the viewer to step close and to look close into the picture plane and really examine the subject, which is myself. And it feels like, you know, that subject in the painting has agency and is looking back at the viewer. So the closer they get, the closer they're feeling looked back at as well.
And talking about the whole I guess imagery, or what you've tried to evoke from the viewer in a sense, your work draws the viewer in with your scrutinising gaze, and the more you look at the image, the more detail you can see behind each layer of the portrait. Can you explain what technique you use to achieve the overall mood and feeling of the portrait itself?
So the mood of this really I think is conveyed through the sense of warmth and contrast in light in the painting. So in the painting I have this streak of light that cuts over my face, which the kind of overbearing heat of the midsummer day light outside coming through the window. And light for me is a really important element of painting. I think of light as a medium in itself, something that I like to work with to convey emotion and contrast and drama. In particular, though, with this one, not so much related to the light, but the colour and the warmth that comes through. I used a technique called Verdaccio underpainting, and that's something that I've been doing for several years now. So Verdaccio is a green-toned underpainting. It's using 3 colours, yellow, black and white, to make a green value range, and then painting that first, so that at one point this painting was black and white. At one point this painting was green toned, and it looked exactly like it does now, but it was just green. It didn't have any colour to it aside from that. And then I slowly added layers and layers of colour on top and brought out that sense of warmth and light and drama.
I can definitely see that, not having looked at it personally first, but seeing it through the image that's been sent through by the Archibald Prize, you can definitely see the kind of mood and how you've used those elements, as you were just explaining there, to create that overall, I guess, dramaticness and tone of the image as well. Yeah. Now, we know that the Archibald Prize isn't in Western Australia. Will you be travelling to Sydney, New South Wales anytime soon to see the exhibition?
Yes, so the opening night, the prize announcement is next week on Friday, May 6th, I believe, or May 5th. So I'll be going there next week for the opening, which is very exciting. And yeah, can't wait.
So exciting. I know this portrait to the right of you is not your piece, but can you tell us a little bit more about what you're painting and what you're working on at the moment?
Yes, so this is a picture that I've been working on from life, and I do love working from life. I usually work a little bit of a combination of life painting with working from images as well. Obviously, when you're working with portraits, it takes a long time, and getting someone to sit for that entire period can take a really long time. So I don't like to force someone to sit for hours and hours and hours. So I have been doing more sketchy pieces like this. So this is done with 3 sittings over a period of 3 different days, so about 2 hours at a time. So I think this is about 6 hours work. And all of this work on this wall pretty much is painted from life. So this is something that I would like to keep working with and resolving, and hopefully it will get to a level of detail that my work with photography also gets to. But usually my life sketches and paintings don't really get beyond this more painterly level of detail. So I would like to keep working on this for another few sittings and see how much detail I can get out without having to rely on photography as a reference.
Thank you so much for chatting with us at WAM News, Melissa. We wish you all the best in the following weeks with the Archibald Prize coming up, and all the best.
Thank you.
That was West Australian artist Melissa Clements. You can read our weekly premium stories on the WAMN Extra News Club, supporting independent local news and keeping democracy strong. And now here's Leo Puglisi with what's coming up on 6 News Tonight.
Thanks, guys. On 6 News Tasmania, Alba confirmed to be granted the 19th AFL licence after a stadium funding announcement, but it's set to be several years before the side enters the competition. The Greens set to introduce legislation that would freeze rent prices as one of the party senators tells Anthony Albanese to shut up about his childhood story, and 5 people shot dead execution style in the US, including an 8-year-old boy, reportedly over a noise complaint. Watch live right now on our YouTube channel and our website, 6newsau.com. For now, though, it is back to you.
Much, Leo, and that's all from Western Perspective this week. We'll be back with you next Sunday. Until then, Ivan and Melly, it's back to you two.
Thanks, Maddie. And that's our weekly news and current affairs. We have the latest news on our website, wamnnews.com.au.
Don't forget to subscribe to the WAMN Extra News Club so we can continue our work in the community. For details on wamnnews.com.au/news/extra. From Melly and myself, we wish you good health, good night. See you next Sunday.
Thanks for watching.